Good day, Junior Tuckies. I am Mrs. Breedenkamp, and in today's lesson, I'm going to be teaching the characteristics of a novel. Firstly, let's have a look at subjective writing versus objective writing. Objective writing are the thoughts and opinions not based on emotions and thoughts, and it's often called an unbiased opinion. It is based on fact and has no personal opinions. Then we have subjective writing, and it's exactly what it says. The subject is dealing with you. So it is your thoughts, your feelings, based on opinions and things that have happened to you in the past. It is associated with often being biased. Let's have a look at an example on the next slide. Let's look at a couple of examples of subjective and objective writing. Firstly, I love the rain. This is subjective because it's giving the own opinion of loving the rain. The next sentence is, it's raining. This is objective writing because this is just an observation. It's a fact. We have no feelings or thoughts motivating the sentence, if I can say it like that. Next, teaching Shakespeare at schools is very important for learners to understand poetry. This is subjective. This is a teacher's opinion about why Shakespeare is being taught in schools. Next up is Shakespeare's plays are taught at school. This is objective writing. Why? Because this is a simple fact. There are no thoughts or emotions behind the sentence. Then, soccer is the greatest sport ever played. Again, subjective. This is a person's opinion that soccer is the greatest sport. Then the next sentence, soccer is a sport played all over the world. This is objective writing because it is a simple fact. Once again, there are no thoughts or emotions behind this fact. What is tone? Tone is the way in which we can imagine the piece of writing is being said, the way in which the author or the poet intended it to be heard. It often deals with the attitude of the writer and not the emotions of the writer. Here are useful descriptors to describe tone: cheerful, dry, assertive, light-hearted, regretful, humorous, pessimistic, nostalgic, meaning you are loving the past or you're missing things that are in the past. Then you get melancholic, which means gloomy or sad, joyful, sarcastic, arrogant, persuasive, uneasy, regretful, and inspirational. Let's look at an example of tone on the next slide. This is an extract from Maya Angelou's poem, Phenomenal Woman. Walk into a room just as cool as you please, and to a man the fellows stand or fall down on their knees. Then they swarm around me, a hive of honey bees, I say. It's the fire in my eyes and the flash of my teeth, the swing in my waist and the joy in my feet. I am a woman phenomenally. Here, the tone of the poem is confident because of how the speaker brags about the woman, or rather the men surrounding her, like honeybees. We can also hear in the rhythm and tone of the poem that it flows easily into one another. What is style? Style is the way in which a writer writes. This includes their word choice, their diction, the sentence structure, or use of figurative language. It often helps with moods, creating imagery, and understanding the meaning of the text. Let's look at an example on the next slide. This is an extract from F. Scott Fitzgerald's novel, The Great Gatsby. And so with the sunshine and the great bursts of leaves growing on the trees, just as things grow in the fast movies, I had that familiar conviction that life was beginning over again with the summer. This extract is or can be considered as a descriptive style of writing because of how the author very vividly describes to us summer and the trees and how they're blossoming and blooming. And there will be a new start in the summer. And that is why I included this picture on the slide. The attitude of the writer can be linked directly with the tone of the extract. This is when the author shares their thoughts and feelings on a certain topic, so it would be subjective writing. You can clearly see their feelings, thoughts, and emotions within the writing. We can ask the following questions to determine the author's attitude. Number 1. What kind of words or diction does the author use? Are they simple or complex? Do they convey emotion or not? Number 2. Does the author use figurative language? What kinds of figurative language do they use? Number 3. Does the author write long sentences or short ones? Number 4. Is the author balanced in their opinion? Are they speaking from a subjective point of view or an objective point of view? And then number 5. What kind of evidence does the author use to motivate their opinions? By asking all of these questions, we can determine the tone or the attitude of the author. These questions help us understand how a piece of writing should be read and should be understood. First person versus third person narration. First person narration, this is when all the actions in the novel happen to the narrator. So the point of view often makes the reader feel more connected to the character telling the story because it's from the character's point of view. First person is actually rarely used in traditional literature, and it's become a lot more popular with modern contemporary literature these days. The point of view is also widely used in children's books and in adult or young adult literature. The pronouns that you will look for to identify a first-person narration is I, me, my, mine, we, our, and us. Then we get third-person narration. So this is from the perspective of an omnipresence or godlike figure that sees and knows everything about the plot, characters, and how the plot will unfold. You can look out for these pronouns when looking for third-person narration. He, him, his, himself, she, her, herself, herself, its, itself, they, them, their, theirs, and themselves. Let's have an example or look at an example on the next slide. First of all, let's look at first-person narration examples. I heard the monsters growl from somewhere in the woods. He was following me. By identifying the pronouns I and me, we understand this is in first person. I couldn't believe I'd been rejected from my first choice university. My mom would be crushed. Again, using the pronouns I, my, and mom. Well, not pronoun mom, but we can understand that it's from the character's perspective. I am staring up at the sky, wondering why I can't seem to let go of my anger. Once again, pronouns I and my. Now, let's look at third-person narration. Tiffany used her prize money from the science fair to buy herself a new microscope. In this example, we can see that someone is speaking about Tiffany, and we can also see the pronouns her and herself. The second example, the concert goers roared their approval when they realized they'd been getting an encore. So once again, talking about the concert goers, not having it from the perspective of a concert goer. And also over here, we can see the pronouns they, and we understand that that is third person. Alright, Junior Tuckies, I hope this lesson really helped you understand the different characteristics of a novel. Next up is types of poetry.